Alrighty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. What a treat this is right now to have an old friend of the radio program join us in studio. He is a Pro Football Hall of Famer, which is always nice to say. And obviously, he's a proud former Green Bay Packer. Go, Pack, go! And that is our pal, LeRoy Butler. LeRoy, how you been?
Every day of vacation. Every single day is a vacation. And for people out there that say, no, it's not, it is. Because if you let people know what bothers you, they'll do it every day. So my grandma told me that. Good to see you, man.
Well, it's great to see you, and I appreciate you coming on in.
You're taller than the last time I met you 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't think I've grown since then. I've
Yeah.
lost some weight, but I don't think I got any taller. But
No, I appreciate you because when we first met, it was organically. But the thing about you was you understand content.
yes, that is true. People say that.
And I wasn't even in the Hall of Fame yet.
No,
I think I was.
if you recall, we were in Miami when we first met in person.
Yes.
And I
yes.
may have been standing in the middle of Radio Row
Yes.
yelling at all the voters.
Yes.
If you don't vote LeRoy Butler in the Hall of
Yes.
Fame, I'm going to kick your
That's
ass
my
in the
guy.
streets of Miami.
That's my guy.
And
Yes.
shortly after that, you got in.
Yes.
Now, I didn't
Yes.
get to introduce you at the ceremony or
I'm
anything
sorry.
like that. Or I
Well,
didn't
it's
get
my
an
wife.
invite, but
It's my wife, Zach. You can get over my wife. It's good to see you.
We'll talk about August Allen, by the way, in just a little bit. But I saw you all over the draft in Green Bay.
Yes.
That was a pretty
Yes.
cool experience having the draft at Lambeau Field.
Zach, as you know, I only played for one team. Now, I remember back in the 90s, there's two things I thought we'd never get. Obviously, the Super Bowl ain't happening. The draft is not happening. So I'm okay with that because, I think football, the legacy of the Green Bay Packers, we don't have an owner, as you know. We have shareholders. When Mark Murphy told me, we're getting the draft, I said, you're going to get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Huh.
Because it's the smallest market. People don't think, and we had 600,000 people there, Zach. And so I like to do a PSA, public service announcement. I want to thank Roger Goodell. That's my guy. I don't care what nobody say.
I'll be honest. Roger
Thank
Goodell,
you.
Hold on. Roger Goodell, I used to not be a fan. I used to not like him. I think he's the best commissioner in pro sports right now.
Because he has to juggle the owners and the players and the PA, the Players Association. But here's a guy that gets it, that says two things can be true. Yes, we love the draft, but yes, this is a bucket list for people to come to Green Bay. And not only did we do an exceptional job, but the history of the Green Bay Packers were on display. And I lived there. Well, I live in Milwaukee.
Sure.
So to have the draft in my backyard was platinum.
And also, it was such a cool scene because
It
I feel
was.
like for years people go, when are the Packers going to draft a wide receiver in the first round for crying out loud? First time since 2002. And they take the speedster and Matthew Golden. But awesome
Yes.
moment.
Now, full disclosure, I told one of my best friends, Justin Hayes, my partner with August Allen, I said, this the year they're going to get a receiver.
Oh, so maybe I need
So
to
he's
get your draft intel.
Well, he's a tech.
Forget about Jax Olbrick and everyone going on with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
I need to talk to you before the draft.
Yes, we should touch on that
What are
too
you in
later.
the Packers front office for crying out loud?
Well, no, I just thought that there's a few games that me and Justin talk about.
Mhm.
The Philly game.
Yeah.
They had a couple injuries on the offensive line, and they had a couple injuries at wide receiver. So I'm thinking in full disclosure, as you know, I'm on the Packer board, but I don't know anything.
Maybe not.
This would seem the year. But I also thought they were going to get Brandon Ayuk going back in 2020.
Fair point.
But we got Jordan Love. Thank you, God. So you just don't know with these projections and things of that nature. But it just seemed like it's a good fit for Golden, who I met, by the way. And when Mark Murphy said, after 23 years, the crowd went crazy.
It was awesome.
Zach, it was pandemonium.
It was deafening on TV.
Some people didn't even hear the name that he called. They were just so happy to get a receiver because we had Watson, our platinum receiver. He's hurt. We won't be back to the beginning of the season. So a receiver was right on point.
the inventor of the Lambeau Leap, LeRoy Butler, in studio with us. We'll talk about August Allen in just a bit, and appreciate LeRoy joining us in studio today. You said thank you, God, about Jordan Love. You're all in with the 2 years that we've seen Jordan Love starting on the Packers quarterback.
1,000%. And here's why. When Matt LaFleur and Gutekunst, our GM, back in 2020, right in the pandemic, going into the pandemic, nobody could really thought what they were going to do. But these guys said to themselves, I was telling Melanie that coming up the stairs because I don't like elevators.
Yeah, LeRoy, by the way, for folks that don't know, LeRoy doesn't take the elevator.
I thought everybody knew that.
We're on the 10th floor.
I want them all
You
taking
walked
out
up 10
every
flight
building.
of stairs.
Yeah.
You know, we should do social media content since I know content well.
Of course.
I'll jump on your back and you'll carry me up 10 flights of stairs.
Oh, hell no, I ain't doing that, man. You like 6'4", man, 200 pounds. You kill me. But it was just, we're going to get a quarterback. But Zach, they moved up to get him 4 spots.
Yeah.
So we traded a spot.
And many people thought it was unnecessary to trade up.
Of course. Aaron Rodgers just had a 4th MVP. Why would you do that? Get him some weapons. But again, 2 things could be true. I want to be good now and in the future. We don't want to be like some of these other teams that are always in the top 5, Chicago, that has these top quarterbacks. You got to get one when you don't need one. And that was, like you said, very unpopular. But people love the fact in the 3rd year, it's normally when quarterbacks take off. That's when Aaron Rodgers took off. That's when Brett Favre took off. So we expect Jordan Love to take off and be one of the best quarterbacks that he was drafted with. Look in 2020. The 2nd-round pick, Jalen Hurts, been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. So it just, you got to get a quarterback when you don't need one to develop him over a few years and then let him take off.
I know you're very close with Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. What did you make of Shedeur Sanders falling all the way to the 5th round?
Well, here's the thing about that. I learned a lot from Deion. I learned about branding, and I learned about having the wherewithal mentally to know it ain't up to people to determine your future. So if you look at Shedeur, he was unbothered. He was disappointed. But they celebrated the 5th round. Now, I also said to myself, I thought it was always good to have your father in your life. How is that wrong? I thought it was okay when, the Manning boys, Eli, I don't want to go to the Chargers. I want to go to New York. Okay, fine. And I thought, for the most part, wherever he goes, he's going to make a difference. So I just wanted him to get his dream. And his dream was to get drafted. But also, you can look at it as Deion saying on camera, he wouldn't allow him to go to certain places. And teams are like, well, because it's embarrassing, Zach, if a team drafts you and you don't want to go there. It's really embarrassing. So they were thinking, well, we select him. It may be a circus. He may not even show up. It's not true. Because right before the draft, Deion said, hey, listen, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Paraphrasing, wherever he goes, we'll be happy. So I just like that just because you're projected, it's just an opinion of teams where you should go. They don't necessarily know you're going to go there. There's no guarantee you're going to go top 5. I mean, just all the experts thought that he would go here. Then they kept saying he was going to fall. But I think the lesson learned from this, you need to just get an opportunity. But where he went, Zach, was a head scratcher. They got Gabriel. He's a good quarterback. They got 5 quarterbacks in camp. Deshaun Watson said he's coming back. Flacco's there like their father. This guy's 200 years old. Flacco's a winner, though. So I just don't know how they can develop him. But after a while, they'll start to move guys. They'll either release guys. But I thought for sure the Giants would take him. They took Jackson Dart.
Yeah, in the 1st round, they traded back up to get him at 25.
That was a head scratcher. But, hey, they got 5 or 6 quarterbacks in their camp.
I'm curious about Coach Prime's future. Now, I know he signed that new deal at Colorado.
Yes.
We don't know about your alma mater with Florida State. I know they gave a long-term deal to Mike Norvell, but a lot changed within the last year. There's all these rumors about Coach Prime maybe going to the NFL one day. What do you think his future is as a coach? Could you see him one day coaching Florida State? Could you see him going to the NFL?
I think he's a college coach.
Okay.
I really do. It's a lot of college coaches, they love what they do. They don't really want to go to the pros. They want to teach and they want to help kids become men. When you get in the NFL, some guy on your team will tell you to go kick rocks. And you're like, but he's the star. And in the NFL, they get rid of coaches than star players. That's a lot. That's a circus.
Yeah.
But I think he'll stay at Colorado, put them on the map. Because he did. They went from one game winning to being a national powerhouse. And his recruiting is amazing.
I had a chance to go to the Big 12 championship last year, maybe go to college football playoff, and came up small, unfortunately, up against Kansas. I agree with you. I hope he stays.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will. Because I think he wants to develop young men to become men. I appreciate that.
Now, let me ask you about Rodgers, then we'll talk about August Allen, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, LeRoy Butler, in studio with us. I'm sick of Rodgers. At this point, I don't think that he's going to win a Super Bowl ever again, so I'm good if he calls it a career and retires. But ultimately, I think there will be drama, and I think ultimately he'll land with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that what you think?
Two things can be true. So I got a conspiracy, and I have what I believe is the truth.
Okay.
The conspiracy, which I don't like doing it because I actually go to church. I think he wants them to change the offense to his liking. That's why he's not there yet.
In Pittsburgh?
And Arthur Smith is the coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guess and a conspiracy.
Okay.
That's the delay. You got to change all this. Otherwise, why would you throw passes to DK and not have Pickens there with them? So it's like I'm developing chemistry with a random guy and happen to be on the team that I'm rumored to go to.
I'll tell you my conspiracy.
Oh, I want to hear it. What is it?
I think he's begging the Minnesota Vikings to finally just take him. That's what I think that
Well, they traded for Sam Howell.
Yeah, and they have J.J. McCarthy, but I think they're hoping that things don't go well and he'll just take a cheap deal in Minnesota and they'll come around. But I don't think Minnesota's going to take him.
Then he would be like Brett. So
get those Wrangler jeans on, too.
Before Sam Howell, I think it was some daylight there. But the truth of it is, let's be honest. If you're 41 years old, do you want to go to an off-season program?
No.
Hell no.
You want to go to Egypt? You want to go to a cave?
Out.
You want to do ayahuasca? That's what Rodgers wants to do.
I want to go look for a rare beetle in the Amazon. Only I can find a beetle and take a selfie with it. Okay, I'll play now. Pittsburgh needs him, and he needs Pittsburgh for legacy. But if you're Mike Tomlin, I'm sure. Did you see when they asked Rooney about it? At the owners' meeting?
Oh, yeah.
He looked like he was passing a kidney stone when they asked. He was like, well, we're not going to wait too long, but
we're going to wait. It's like, we got no other options.
Dude, you're going to wait.
That's why they should have drafted Shedeur. They had multiple opportunities to draft Shedeur.
Facts. All facts. But also your grandmother told you some things are too good to be true. It's not going to happen. If it's too much like right, it won't happen. But I just wish Shedeur would have went somewhere where they needed a quarterback and he can be the future, and it's a team that has good culture.
That would have been Pittsburgh. That's why I thought they were the perfect destination.
Pittsburgh or the Giants would have made sense. That's why I have to listen to these people think it's a conspiracy of him keep dropping and what's happening. It ain't got nothing to do with racism. It ain't got nothing to do with they don't like Deion. It's just that these people don't always get it right. That's why they're always in the top 10, Zach. Look at these teams. They're always losing organizations. They let people pass. I had the Houston Oilers shake my hand and say, we're going to take you number 16 in the first round.
Oh, my God.
When I got to their pick, I think the phone's going to ring. Crickets.
Huh.
So I sat back, and God saved me and sent me to the Packers. They don't always know. Their scouts are all over the place, and they don't always get it right. So what he got to do is go there and be focused. And we'll revisit this in a few years and say, why are these teams bad? Because they didn't get a quarterback like the Packers. We got us a quarterback.
Yeah, you guys had a quarterback for decade after decade after decade, Hall of Fame, Super Bowl, all that
exactly.
stuff. All righty, let's do this. Justin is here. Justin, appreciate you coming on in. I know you guys got a bunch of stuff cooking with August Allen. Tell us what that is.
Well, the thing about it, me and Justin met with mutual friends. I was always a tech guy, but my grandmother say, stay in your lane. I like promotion.
I'm going to say,
like
you're
talking,
a promoter.
I like doing it, but Justin had a brilliant way. People heard of AI.
Mm-hmm.
He brought in AR, and you basically developed me as a character to promote.
Huh.
So we did it for myself, the LeRoy Butler experience. And we can make it the brains of it like me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the AI, you can ask it anything. Get me the nuclear codes. It'll get it for you and you'll go to jail. If you ask my character something nefarious like that, what will it tell you? Just like...
It would say, sorry, I don't know what you're talking
about.
Well,
I don't know nothing about it. I ain't going to jail.
Exactly.
I don't think you can replicate LeRoy Butler, if I'm being
No.
honest.
Right?
I think that's a tough project for AI and AR.
Yeah.
You know, the replicating you one-on-one, my friend.
Absolutely. And what's the difference between, because a lot of people don't even know that.
Between what? The
AI and AR?
Well, AR is basically the yellow line in NFL football when you look on TV.
Oh,
so that's
very nice.
augmented reality because they're putting a yellow line there. Or the tracers in tennis or golf, things like that.
Yes.
So we're putting an AR avatar in what do you call it? What did I just say?
Well, we put
an augmented reality. So we're adding him in, he's not supposed to really be there. He's there. And then we created the AI part of him, recorded his voice, and now it sounds just like him. And
awesome.
we
And
can
it
talk
looks
to
like
him.
me too.
It knows your name. It remembers, conversations.
Kind of scary stuff,
It's awesome.
right?
Well, I wouldn't
Scary,
use
cool stuff.
I wouldn't even use scary, because that's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Scary. But
I've had a few of those.
stuff we all have. And trust me, my wife had some scary guys when she told them,
yeah.
don't call me no more. I'm with LeRoy Butler. This is a long time ago. But
So how do people check this out, by the way, if they want?
the best way to do it is go to LeRoyButlerExperience.com.
Perfect.
Or you can go to AugustAllen.com.
AugustAllenAR.com.
Yes.
Or-
And if you're a company out there, we can develop it for you so we can market people. We did a big deal with Visit Milwaukee that we're doing, that Justin put together. So he's a perfect guy to do that.
So you guys going to keep Giannis in Milwaukee?
Of course,
just
he ain't going
virtually,
nowhere.
and then he'll get traded to your Lakers or something
He
like
ain't
that?
going, don't do that.
Do you, the
Melanie,
first
this is
time,
when you're supposed to cut him off.
I had to yell
You
at
know
you.
I'm a Laker fan.
I had to yell at you to keep Giannis
Yeah.
in Milwaukee. Now I think he's leaving.
I know he's not going anywhere. No.
Okay.
The city, yeah.
He'll
It's
virtually be there.
unfortunate that Dame got hurt.
Terrible.
It got, but my Lakers in trouble too.
Yeah.
So I'm not having a
That's a
good
lost cause.
time. But I'll blame
At
it
least you
all
got
on
Luka, though.
Gary. I'll
Yeah.
blame it all on Gary. I'll blame it on Boomer.
Yeah. Anyway, Justin, LeRoy, always good to see you guys. Appreciate you
Thank you
coming
so
on
much,
in.
Zach.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure, my brother.
You got it. We'll take a time out. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Coming on back after these short messages.